All right, we're back. Episode 29 of the Eric and Tony Show.
We're back.
Happy New Year, 2024. Beginning the new year with Eric and Tony.
Hell yeah.
Just doing it, just the two of us.
Holiday recap.
Holiday recap.
Yeah.
You know, talk about some
Eric
things.
travels.
I went to Wisconsin, you know, went back home for a warm 22-degree weather. Nice climate back home, which was nice. See some family.
Did it snow?
It did not snow. Well, like
the worst.
it snowed a little bit where like it would melt right away
Yeah.
and then just like not really stick. But it was rainy and just gray skies the whole time. The sun came out one time.
Got a little seasonal depression just for a week.
Yeah, just like felt what it would be like if I was back home, and it was not great because of the weather. Family
It's so
was
funny
great.
how much you need like sunshine to I don't know, man. I like last year was rough out here with like the 6 months of rain that we had. You know what I mean? Which is like, dude, what? This is just fucking relentless. But there, where it's like cold 9 months of the year and like snowing, and then when it's not even snowing, or even when it's like too cold to snow, you know what I'm saying? Just like weird flurries floating around, like that's fucking depressing.
Yeah, it's horrible. I just looking around at people, I just feel like everyone's just dying and just unhealthy and just like, I'm like, yeah, this place will do that to you. Like that weather will just beat you down until you're fucking dead. Like it's like the worst place to live if you want to try to live a long, like happy life. There's no fucking sun and it's just bitterly cold. And they're like, oh, the sun came out today. And I'm like, yeah, it's windy and it's fucking freezing. Like I'm like, there's sun, but it's cold. It's so fucking cold. I got to take my dog out every, like couple hours to go to the bathroom and stuff. And it's just like, dude, I feel bad for him. It's like, he's probably like, what is this shit? He's like, I'm a dog and this is fucking crazy. Yeah. Like think about people like back home that had dogs and they like leave them outside and shit. And they just live in like a house, like a little house they have in their backyard. And I'm like,
dude, there was a lot of neighbors that had like just fucking backyard dogs, or just animal cruelty. There's a fucking like Springer Spaniel dog that our neighbors had, like my grandparents' neighbors. That thing never went inside. It was just always out, just fucking shaking and shit in his cage. I'm like, I feel bad. I'd steal bacon and give it to it and shit like that. Like just, it's fucking rough. Super nice dog too.
Yeah, I think like there's only like a few breeds that are like meant to like be out in the snow, like huskies or some shit. But like everything else, like no, it's just too cold.
Weird though. Like that's just kind of like weird subservient thing to do to like have like we talked about this before. Like just like people that are way too anal retentive with like dog training, which is like do not cross the kitchen floor line, like all that kind of shit.
Yeah, like something's wrong if like like you do that with your dog, or like you can't let him like on a couch or like sit with you or sleep, all that stuff. It's fucking weird. But yeah, that was the trip back home. It was nice. Hung out with family, did that round. Knowing going home in this time of year, like you're not going to be like, going outside and like really doing much. It's going to be going from like restaurant to restaurant to house and like just hanging out and stuff. So, play some cards with my parents. Played Oh Shit. I don't know. It's the Midwest game. That's pretty fun. So, did that. And then got to see like my godfather and his wife, my brother, his kids, his wife, some of my brother's friends that I went down to Mexico last year with. Got to meet up with them. They have a beautiful house, and like so hung out with them.
Where do they live?
For New Year's. They live in Madison, Wisconsin, and so it's funny because they all have these really, really nice houses. They're just like huge. And there's like TVs everywhere. There's like, the basements are all done, so there's like full bar, there's like theater, there's like,
you build a resort at your house because you don't leave. It's too
exactly.
Cold.
I'm like looking at it and I'm like, it's cool, but like you can't leave here. You can't really do anything.
Why go to a nightclub when we have one here?
Yeah, it's like you just start building things out of your like in your house and stuff. Obviously not everybody can do that, and they're fortunate enough to be able to like do stuff like that, but it's still just like I was like, man, no amount of money, like I could not do that. Like no way. Like I'm sorry. Not worth it.
Yeah.
But found out that one of my brother's friends, his wife that we went to Mexico, I won't say her name obviously, but she has a very interesting job. She does testing on like animals for drug companies, and they test on like monkeys and beagles and cats. And I was like, what? Whoa, what? And she's like, yeah, like there's a name for them. They're specifically bred for like going in and being tested on. And I was like, God, that's got to be such a tough job. Like, you work amongst
desensitized.
These, like
you're an adorable little puppy, like just fucking jabbing it with.
And she's like, but that's what they're like.
What is she testing?
They're made for drugs, for like curing cancer drugs and like. So it's like she's like, it's like a horrible thing, but like that's what you have to test on in order to get it to human trials. So it's like, what do you do that to people, or you do it to an animal, or you just don't do anything, and everybody just always like have all these like diseases and cancers and whatnot. So it's like,
whatever you gotta tell yourself,
Well, I can see like like the struggle with that, and but also you're like, oh my God, like if they have, they had like some tests that done that like really cured like a whole bunch of stuff and like really helped a lot of people out. So it's like, like at one hand, again, I could never do it.
I don't have to do that exactly.
Yeah,
just in the job description alone, like, maybe this job's not for me.
But then again, you could even look at like the farming industry and like like cows, like going to
gross.
slaughter, and like
I would be a vegetarian if I worked on a farm. I like we went and did like a field trip in like kindergarten or some shit and like milked a cow. And I'll never forget the fucking gross feeling of a cow's udder, the warmness of the milk, all that shit. Like I didn't drink milk for fucking like years after that. It grosses me out.
Yeah, it's like something you got to do though. Like, I mean, if you want to eat animals, like there's like a whole, system that goes into place, and the end result is they die, So like they have farmers in like other countries that like their kids grow up with the same goats and all this shit. And then like all of a sudden it's like, well, they're past, like 6 years old, we're going to be eating them and shit. And it's like, that's kind of like the reality of, the food industry. And that's just like another kind of like, I guess under the same umbrella of like, industry with animals. Like they're used for our gain. But it's
I just don't like being the one doing that type of thing. That's like I don't know, like taxidermy and shit. That's another weird fucking profession that I would never want to do. Where it's just like, and then the people that do that shit. Because when I was back home in Wisconsin, like there was like a news clip and it was like the guy was talking about like it was the end of like whatever deer hunting season, and he's got like this, he's a legacy of like taxidermy. Right?
Yeah.
So it's in the family and shit. But like the guy looked like he played with dead bodies anyways. You know what I mean? Like there's just like a little screw off and shit, and just I don't know.
Yeah, she did say that it was like the highest like standards of like ethics for them, like for all the animals that they do. Like it has to be like it. Like I'm sure like now in today's day and age, there's like so many like
again, dude, whatever you gotta tell yourself. Like that's again
or pet. What is that? PETA, not FEMA. PETA.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff is like super like in all that. So, but again, it's still like one of those things you're just like, yeah, that's like the reality of like a lot of like stuff you eat and consume. Like there's some shit that goes on that you probably don't think about or want to know about, but it's all out there.
Yeah.
So what else we got? So we got I want to talk about this. So
there's something I need to talk about.
It grinds my gears. So I used to be a listener of the Joe Rogan podcast, and over the past like I'd say like 4 years, he's kind of started drinking Kool-Aid of like right-wing propaganda and like anti-vaxxing shit and all sorts of stuff, and kind of lost a lot of credibility from people like myself that once watched him and just now can't stomach watching him anymore. And it's unfortunate because I think initially in his origins of when he started his podcast and started his stuff, he had a lot of outside of the box ideas and was pretty open-minded. And I feel like when he moved to Texas, a lot of that changed. And, there's a lot of conversation that happens when, people live in these bubbles and how they can affect your perspective and your politics and what you care about, what you don't care about. And you literally watch it happen with a person that's on TV or on YouTube and podcasts and stuff all the time. And you kind of watched it happen before your eyes, which is, it's kind of crazy and sad to see at the same time, where you're like, oh wow, like this person is no longer like grounded in reality to have like really anybody kind of go against him. I feel because he's so big now, like he doesn't have anybody that he used to have that would just disagree and kind of put him in his place, where a lot of his friends and people that he has on his podcast just kind of kiss his ass, or like they kind of just do like the fake, okay, I know, okay, I really don't agree with you, but I'm not going to like push back against you. I'll just kind of like go around and like kind of like agree to disagree, or like really kind of like cater to whatever he's saying and kind of half-ass agree with him, you know? And one of the best examples of that, of like kind of where he is now, is he was talking shit with some like MMA fighter about Joe Biden and how he's losing his mind and he's so stupid and all this stuff. And that Joe Biden said like, yeah, the reason we didn't win the Civil War is because we didn't have enough airports. And he's like, whoa, like, I can't believe you said that. What an idiot. And like, if anybody was that like cognitively inclined and dumb, like they should be fired immediately. And then fast forward like 5 minutes after they're still talking all this crazy shit about him and how he shouldn't be anywhere near the office and everything. Turns out it was Joe Biden referencing Trump, saying that and quoting him, saying the stable genius that once was in office fucking said that we don't have, and it's true. You can watch it. And then they go back and retract everything. Oh well, you know, they start making excuses for, he probably just misspoke or you know, and none of the same ridicule or critique on it. And so it just showed you kind of like showed you who he really is and where he is now as a person, as far as his like his way of thinking and taking in new information. And the people that he has on now is super like right wing, super like Tim Pool's and Ben Shapiro's and fucking all these wackos that just like push the propaganda. It's basically like he has like the Fox News of podcasts like on his podcast now and gives them a platform. And like, what do you do with somebody like that now that has like one of the biggest reaches in like the podcast world? And he's also now been converted to like a Kool-Aid drinking fucking moron. So it's kind of, sad to see somebody go down that road. But again, it's just like, all right, well, that's another one. Just fucking like, I feel like the end is near with somebody like that once you start losing all that credibility, like, you know,
I don't know, man. In today's day and age, there's a place for all those people. I don't think he'll ever really fucking like lose his footing. He's gonna still be like the biggest like podcaster, and just like, because there's as many viewers or listeners he has now, there's just as many that aren't listening to him yet, and they're like on that same fucking like
that may have thought like, he's because he considers
he's a little too liberal for me now.
He considers himself a Democrat or a liberal, even though he had like he's not. That's like who's that one fucking senator or not Nikki Haley, but fucking she's one of these chicks that was on his show a bunch of times. Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard. Yeah. And she's considered a Democrat, but she's fucking way nuts and way right wing and drank all the Kool-Aid and is like pro Trump and all this crazy shit. And like, I see him as like being one of those people now. And now like, he's like, I'm still have like some of these people that haven't like outed me yet, like as like I'm totally fucking nuts, but now can kind of start dipping into the right wing base and like start grabbing those people. And that's where I feel his community is now. It's more the right wing. And I recently saw something, his numbers went up in the last like, year, 6 months, whatever, from, his dumbass fucking, speaking and people that he has on. So I think at the end of the day, like there's always going to be a platform for people like that. Like no matter what, it's never going to go away completely. But it's like when the Civil War happened and like there was the war was over and the North won, but the South still like kept that fucking racist vibe going, and even to this day, there's still like the fucking Confederate flag, and like they still have these little fucking like mascots of
tip of the hats,
and like these colors,
the good old days,
all that kind of shit. And I think you're just gonna get all the trash people that believe and have those same like ideas are just gonna go over to that platform. They're basically all gonna like. He's gonna turn into like the Florida of podcasts. It's gonna be all like the fucking trash ass people. Just said, go over there. It's like, give him a place. That's your place now. Now you got that. Like, because it's not, they're Texas, it's just like there.
He just has too long, man. It's like fucking like 3 or 4 hours a day every day. It's like so much content, just so much. And then you're right though. You're putting out all these fucking nutcase fucking right wing people.
Yeah, I'm like, I think those people should be on podcasts, and you should have definitely crazy ass right wing people and left wing people and on, but it needs to be moderated appropriately and needs to be moderated by somebody that actually knows what the topic is about. Like if they want to talk about vaccines or politics or fucking hunting or anything, have someone else that is equally knowledgeable.
He was trying to get Cat Williams on his podcast now, since Cat Williams did that
that'd be
Sharp interview.
That'd be interesting.
He talks about like Rogan in that thing, and he's like, hey, he ain't fuck with me, or whatever he says. But Joe Rogan's like, I'd love to have you on the podcast. I'm like, that'd be fucking dope. I'd love to fucking like see those two dudes have like a 3-hour conversation, because Cat Williams is fucking.
Yeah, you just need like somebody to go on his podcast and not kiss his ass and just like be like, yeah, hey dude, you've been like just saying a whole bunch of like Sam Harris has been on his podcast before, and he's somebody that I feel could like articulate and have a conversation that, and he's not like aggressive in his like, he's not like a got you guy or anything. He just has like really great conversation with his guests, and most of them being non-crazy right wingers. But I think you'd be a good person to have on to kind of mediate if there were to be like two opposing sides of an idea. Like he's really good at like mediating those things. But again, like you have to have two people on at the same time, which kind of isn't the podcast forum, especially for that one. Usually it's just one crazy person and then they're having a conversation that's just completely off the walls with no like guardrails, or like even with the guy that checks Joe Rogan shit, yeah. Jamie. It's like, I think like that guy knows he's in like a fucking like weird cult podcast now that like, he's like, all right, I can only like fact check him so much. And then like even on the one that I just mentioned about the Biden thing, like he's like, oh yeah, like that's actually wrong. And then, oh, okay. Like, well, yeah, well, just kind of pushed aside, you know? And I find a few podcasts that I watch that like that, where there's like some right wing guy and then like his fact checker person just calls him out and they're like, you know, like, how long am I going to have my job? You know, like I can't just agree with what the boss says. Yeah. So it's just, just wanted to talk about that for a little bit. It's just something that's kind of on my mind.
I'm trying to get haters. I'm trying to get Joe Rogan mad at us.
No, we don't want any haters. We just want to push them away from this podcast.
No,
push all those dumbasses to that one, and then all the people that don't watch him anymore, come on over to the Eric and Tony show. We got open minds over here, and we don't.
We're not smart. We talk about stuff.
Yeah, you that's that's the craziest thing. You don't even have to be smart to like see that there is a democratic side and there is a fascist side. Like I think right now in our time in history, there is really two choices. You're either for democracy or you're against it. And if you can't see that, then you're probably against it. So I'm just trying to get all
that's the thing though, is I don't think those people have that same group of people are also like, well, why should I pay taxes? It's like, because the fucking system only works if everyone chips in a little bit. That's how it all works. And it seems like the right is always trying to like, you know, lower taxes. And then I feel like California is like too far left. Like this state sucks. Like I love living here, but I don't know where the fuck my tax money goes. Oh, yeah. Nothing gets fixed.
The taxes are fucking just
school systems suck. A whole bunch of shit is just trash, but like we pay a premium for that. However, I wouldn't live anywhere else in this fucking country. Right. I don't live in any other fucking country in the world, but our shit's all fucked up.
Yeah, it is. It's all messed up, but like there's still like fundamental things that surpass those fucked up things that are in every state. Like no state is perfect, and no party is perfect ever, and hasn't been. Like I've had conversations with people who are like, well, you know, the KKK was started by the Lincoln, when Abraham Lincoln was in, like they were the Confederates, and the
Democrats.
The Democrats was started, you know, the KKK was started by that. And I'm like, yeah, but all these things and all these like, yeah, like Republicans are more fiscal, like all these like policies and things that have happened in our history, they all like kind of change. They can change. They don't stay stagnant and stay the same forever. They constantly are like moving around. So you just have to follow where the bad shit isn't. And sometimes it could be on the Republican side, and sometimes it could be on the Democratic side. Right now, all the bad shit is the Republican side. It really is. There's no like, oh, well, both sides isms. It's like, no, there's one side that's trying to elect a person that is trying to be a dictator of this country, says it, and he says it. He said it multiple times this week. Like, I'm going to be a dictator on my first day. I'm your retribution. Like, and then the funny thing is that people will excuse that or make up an excuse for, oh, he didn't really mean that. It's like, no, he's literally telling you.
I mean this.
He's like,
this is me, Donald J. Trump,
I'm going
I mean this.
imprison everybody that didn't vote for me and kill everybody. And then they'll be like, no, he doesn't really mean that. It's like, he's literally telling you everything that he's going to do. And everyone's like, nah. It's like,
he wouldn't though.
Yeah. Like that could never happen. It's like, no, that's how fucking like World War II started, and fucking Hitler did that with the whole country. Just propaganda, brainwash, fucking telling everybody that the other side is bad and they're evil and they're coming to dilute the blood of our country. Like the same rhetoric literally that Trump is using now out of fucking Mein Kampf, saying all the crazy shit that Hitler used to say word for word. Like it's crazy. Like there's no hiding it. He's saying all the quiet parts out loud. And
so like, Donald Trump.
Yeah. Basically, it's like so fucking past the point of like, both sidesism, and like everything is now normalized because it's so every single day constantly being talked about. And like the next day he'll say something even fucking crazier than he did before. So then you forget what he said the day before. And you're like, oh, well, yeah, that's normal. Like if any other president in history fucking said a fraction of the shit, like they would not be running for president or wouldn't have the support of it. But because he's normalized it and kind of done like a drip on people. What is that? Like you boil the frog like slowly, and then so before they know it, they're fucking like, oh, we're like they're getting prosecuted themselves for something that they didn't think they would, or like, oh, it'll never happen to me. It's like, it's so fucking crazy. I think that's like such a important thing to discuss. I know we talk about a lot of dumb shit on this podcast.
Well, I will say this much. I'm happy that we're both aware of being morons. That's like a huge thing. Like, yeah. There was a point in time when I thought I knew everything. I was a know-it-all. And then it was asking me a question. I got an answer. Then like I realized that, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just bullshitting. And like, had to cut that back. And then it's nice to just not know shit and then be honest with that kind of shit, as opposed to fucking like your Joe Rogans and Donald Trumps and shit. We're just like, I'll just fucking let my ego go, and like I think I could just figure out an answer to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Especially on like shit that's like fact checkable. Just like an example. I forgot it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to really put the effort in to go outside of your normal legacy media places to get your information, because there is favoritism on legacy media, CNN and NBC, MSNBC, and obviously on Fox News and OAN and News Nation and all these fucking places. These are more so on the right. It's propaganda where there is fact checking, there is legal analysis, but still it's catered towards, one side or the other. I think you really have to find places that shoot straight down the middle and just give facts. And that's hard to do. I think it really is. And that's why a lot of people, they're like, whatever. This is the channel I've been watching the football game on forever. Yeah. This is the channel that I always watch this thing on, and I'll just fucking get my information from there. And they're not interested to find out whether or not the information they're being fed has any truth to it at all.
Some of the older generation, though, there was like true news, like, I don't know, it's like the 80s, or when they kind of like, you didn't have to really tell the truth anymore. You just make up fucking news, just legit fake news, everything. And that older generation, I feel like they're more prone to just kind of stick with what they know.
I don't think it was that.
Like
I
our
think
parents, for example.
I think like that's before Fox News. That's before like total propaganda. Like we are a channel that is devout to the right side, right? Or to whatever their politics were. So before then was like Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters, but those were like serious journalists. Like they were vetted, and they vetted all their show that doesn't have a theme song too. It is a, you know? So it's like that kind of stuff is like lost now. There is no like channel that everybody can turn on where it's like, this is the fucking news. This is what's really happening. Because now everybody thinks that either side, whatever you're getting the information from, they're lying to you. And there's all this stuff. And that all has to do with definitely the Fox News propaganda station, as well as when you have a president that is the main head of that and focal point and helps spread all that and you know, put all that disinformation and distrust into all of the things that we have set up, like the Supreme Court and the Department of Justice and the FBI and the police and the fire department, fucking everything. Like he just said, if they're not with me, they're fucking bullshit and they lie. Like with all that stuff. Yeah. So you spread that out into the millions and millions of people that watch that shit every day, that they're like, yeah, you know what? Fuck this. I don't, you know, like
I thought the fire department was bullshit.
Yeah, I thought, you know, fuck those guys. And like nothing is perfect, but there still is like a rule of law and there still is democracy. And for how horrible the time that we have right now and what we're going through, it's still the best country in the world. And that's what...
Yeah, but it's also, too, dude, there's like... We're always in that, like... some kind of shitty transitional period in this country. That's just how it goes. It's just, this is the new thing. We're just like... Now we got a lot of really shitty fucking presidents. At least back in, like, the 60s when there was, like, civil rights movements and stuff, like... There was... I don't know if I'd say a good president because Nixon came in after fucking Kennedy. But there's always a bunch of shit on the plate.
There is.
In the U.S.
But the biggest difference between... this time and all those other times, all types of horrible things, you know, presidents being assassinated, Martin Luther King being assassinated, like people that were trying to move the country forward being murdered, absolutely horrible. But the like 9/11, another thing happened under, you know, Bush, right? So the reason why this is such a focal point and why it's such an important time in the history of this whole fucking country is because our democracy is at stake. Our democracy was threatened on January 6th with the insurrection, trying to stop the peaceful transfer of power. So even when the planes flew into 9/11, it wasn't an attack on democracy. It was an attack on the country. Same thing like Pearl Harbor. It was an attack on the country, but it wasn't an attack on the fabric of our democracy, of what we are as America and as Americans. That was literally like an attack in the Capitol, having a Confederate flag in that Capitol,
well, then instilling the
which
doubt
has
of
never
like
happened before.
You know, the legitimacy of the election too. That's like the other problem is like you start fucking like people need to believe in the system for it to work. And you start bringing in that fucking like shadow of doubt.
Right, exactly. Then, but a shadow of doubt that has no legitimacy and no credibility and no facts behind
it's a fucking
it.
Sore loser baby. No, that's the thing. It's like,
well, even the people that still think that, like some people that I talked to when I was back home, I'm like, there was 61 cases that were brought from Trump about the election being stolen, brought to federal courts, heard by federal judges that he appointed. Yeah. Most of them being Republican. All 60 out of 61 were thrown out of court and dismissed because there wasn't any evidence backing it up. On top of that, you have over $1 billion lawsuit from the Fox News station that they got sued over $1 billion for their fraudulent statements and spreading that. I forget the voting machine company that it was rigged and they did all this stuff. What was it? Yeah, Dominion. So again, and then had to say we lied to all the viewers, like literally them having to say we gave false information to all these fucking people and we lied about this, but we'll pay the million or the 100. I think it was over $1 billion. And they have another lawsuit coming up with another election machine company that's suing them as well. And that's going to be probably even more. It's the same thing. So it's like, even after people hear this, they still are in disbelief. The people that I talk, so there's like
denial, man. Denial's a real fucking stage of grieving.
Yeah. So, but like what, like where do you go other than just go, all right, well, all these people are basically like wasted. Like they're just like, there's no coming back. Maybe I would say like out of the 35% of the people that are extremely hardcore, right-wing, mega fascist idiocracy cult, like maybe like, 3% of them will actually like come out of that and be able to see what's actually going on. But I think the rest of them will be there forever till the day they die. And then they'll pass that down to their kids, and you'll see kids with, instead of Confederate flags, it'll be Confederate flag with Trump on it. Like, we really won. And it'll be a whole new like generation of people that are just going to be born into being idiots because of the disinformation that has been passed down to them by their parents. And it'll just stay like that. It'll always be that. That's the thing. Like, these things will never be going away now. They will always be a part of our society. And you can't...
Do you know what's funny, though, is like, speaking of part of the society, I was watching Home Alone with my kid over the holidays, and Home Alone 2, Donald Trump has a cameo in there and shit. I was like, this didn't really age well. Like, just like, that dude, it's like, I didn't like him when he was just on The Apprentice and shit with the, like, you fight. Like, it's just his whole, I've always hated that fucking dude. And then what he did as far as like, really kind of fucking polarizing this fucking country, and then drumming up the Klan. It's just a whole bunch of shit, man. It's just a...
Yeah, it's so blatantly obvious to everyone else that isn't in that cult that's the scary part. Like, Biden had a speech the other night, and he goes, "We know who Trump is. Trump's like a fucking racist piece of shit, like not paying his employees. Like, he's like every blue collar guy's fucking like worst nightmare of a boss that they all bitch about for their whole lives. That, oh, this fucking rich asshole, he didn't pay me enough. He didn't give me a Christmas bonus. Yeah. He fucking stiffed me on this. He fucking whatever. All the things. He is all those things wrapped into one guy. But we know that about him. The thing is that we didn't know that about other parts of the country that believe in those things and support those things. So it's not really who he is, it's who we are as a country. And so it's a reflection moment. It's like, yeah, there's going to be assholes like that guy. There's going to be more fucking wannabe dictators and shit that are going to try to do the same shit now that Trump kind of laid the playbook, like, oh, you got to do this and that, and you can just, fucking get away. You can be an idiot, fucking a failed businessman that knows nothing about anything, is a fucking moron, but you can still become president. Yeah. So now it's opened the floodgates to all these other fucking idiots that are like, oh, I can do that too. And you're seeing it. So it's really a pivotal point to reflect on us as a country, to see where we're at and what we're going to do about it. Because if that were to happen and he is to be elected again, all the things that he's saying that he's going to do, he will do this time, the second time around, and it will be game over. There will be no, there won't be
finally build that wall.
There won't be a democracy. There'll be a dictatorship. And that's what people that vote for him don't understand, how dangerous that is. Like, that's what we like fought against. The British colony, like when they were over here, it was a dictatorship, and we were like, fuck that, and we're not going to do that. We're doing our own thing. And then that's how you became the greatest country in the world, because you didn't have one fucking person. You had a democracy. You all talked about it, and you all disagreed on shit, but then you had rules set in place to be like, okay, well, now it's like all those little things that everybody, oh, what about the wall? And what about, my taxes and all this shit? It's like, yeah, that doesn't matter anymore. Like, we need to focus on the bigger picture. Yeah. Like, do you want to live in a country that is run by a dictator, or do you not? Because, like, all those other things don't fucking matter. Like none of that shit matters. Now it's like, all right, you're talking about like the small things. Like, you either want to have a country or you don't. So it blows my mind that that's not as urgent of a thing to so many people that I've talked to back home, and then it's just so sad too, because you're like, man, like you could be part of the reason if it doesn't work out in 2024 for like the demise of like the greatest experiment in history.
Eligible fucking to run though. That's the crazy thing. It's like, can't we just block that? Like,
well, that's what they're doing right now. There's appellate court that is to decide whether or not they think he is immune, has presidential immunity, which in the Constitution, for all the Supreme Court justices that claim to be constitutionalists and textualists, meaning that they literally take everything word for word and like they break it down like super fucking constitutional nerds, that it says nowhere in there. It says actually the opposite, that if you aid in an insurrection or like help people in insurrection. I forget that there's another term that they use, but if you basically do all the shit that Trump did, like you can't ever run for president, and you're also not immune to prosecution. Like you don't have presidential immunity because it's outside of your scope of the presidential like job. So all those things are being discussed right now in the appellate court, and then appellate court goes up to the Supreme Court, which is like all the fucking Trump cronies. But the twist to that is if they give him presidential immunity, it gives the current president presidential immunity. And that's a precedent that they would have to make, saying that, okay, well, if they're like, all right, well, Trump has presidential immunity, all of his cases that, you know, are being tried against him because he was president, even though it was before, during, and after he was president, presidential immunity. That means that Biden being president, having presidential immunity while in office, could be like, all right, lock up every Supreme Court justice, murder Trump, take all these fucking people that like voted against me, put them in Guantanamo Bay, like do all the craziest shit that he could want to do. And he has presidential immunity. They wouldn't be able to touch him. So it's like, be careful what you wish for, because if, again, like people don't understand like the ramifications of what is happening right now. Like it could be gone like so fast. Like it could be all gone. Like all the freedoms, all the stuff. And it's like a reality that we're living in, but like everyone's just like, well, you know, just it's, you know, hope, you know, we'll see what happens. It's like, no, it's fucking crazy. This is the craziest shit ever. Like we could be living through like the craziest time in the history of the world right now, and everyone is just not.
Dude, we're living in the end of the world. This is like there's a whole bunch of crazy. Like American politics is the smallest fucking like obstacle we have going against us, dude. I think like that peak oil, right? We're going to run out of petroleum. We're switching over to fucking battery-powered cars and shit. We don't have enough fucking... The actual grid, across the country has been failing for like 20, 30 years. Do you know what I mean? Our whole infrastructure's shot.
Well, again, because you don't have the country moving in the same direction. You have the Democrats trying to move the country forward, and you can't just do that with a party. You need a democracy. You need a group.
Yeah, I know, but I think both parties are so fucking like, I don't know. You look at like to go straight, and you like in this country, you have to, like it goes right and left every a couple of years, right? So you're constantly doing this thing, but then when you go too far left or too far right, then we basically got in this fucking we're stuck in the mud with like both sides. I think we need a third party. Like that'd be the fucking like the cure all. Just start fresh with a whole new fucking party. Mix both things, not just have it always be a B scenario, abortion, gun control, all those simple things that one side goes with and the other side doesn't. And then you'd actually see some progress.
Well, again though, like those things have been like, why are those things still even being talked about? Like how fucking
they're hot
dumb
button issues, man.
No, but again, like Roe versus Wade, that was just taken away. That was 50 years stripped of women's rights. Gun control, fucking nothing has happened with that shit. Like nothing, and it's still a problem. So it's like you have
crazy we sell more guns each year with all these fucking mass shootings, and there's more mass shootings every year. It's just like, do you not see the fucking trend here?
Right.
Like, and I like guns.
Again, for the two topics that you just said, or that I just said, they are trying to be changed by the Democratic Party for a very long time. And it's the opposite on the Republican side. They don't want to touch anything having to do with guns. Again, the contextual, people that read the Constitution, they're like, the right to bear arms. And then, they like, they quote it all the time. I have the right to bear arms. It goes, shall be controlled by, I forget the exact wording. I obviously am not a constitutionalist, but it says a well-regulated militia, or a well-regulated all right, I got it right. So it's well regulated.
Get you over here quote the Constitution.
Yep. So well regulated is a part that the whole right side just goes, well, no, we don't even need to read that part. Like, so it's just like what they do with fucking religion. Everybody takes and cherry picks all the little things that they want to say out of the Constitution that agree with their fucking beliefs, and then disregard anything else that makes them change their mind or change what the actual like wording is. So it's the same bullshit. So it's like a group of people doing the same thing to stop the progression of the country. And you can even go that far with, other aspects of religion, and that's in that same party where it's super religious, super Christian white nationals and all this fucking dumb shit, where they're trying to like ban books in school and not have people learn the history of our actual country. And once you start taking religion and putting it in to schools and textbooks and stuff, you're stunting the growth of a country in itself, because you're saying that this is what you need to know and that's it. You're not allowing people to question things. Like religion in itself, I feel the reason I'm so against it is because it stunts the growth of learning. It's saying, if I wonder what created us, what's out there, what is life, all that stuff. I'm curious. I would love to find that out. Religious people go, don't worry, we got it. It's a guy in the clouds.
You wouldn't be able to comprehend it.
No, they say, we know. Yeah. They go, we know. We got it figured out. It's a guy in the clouds, and he's a God, and he created everything. Okay, well, there's no proof or evidence to that. So now by saying that, you're telling anybody else that to give up, to be lazy, just accept that this story that has no proof, facts, evidence, or anything to back it up, that's what it is. And they've done that with so many other things in religion until science has come and actually proven those things, like about the earth and the sun, and it rotates, and galaxies and fucking stars, and there is no fucking like Poseidon and fucking, all like mythical gods, like nobody believes in that bullshit anymore. And it's the same shit they did before. They believed in like, all the
So all that lightning, Zeus throwing lightning bolts around.
Yeah, all that shit. Like if you said my religion is Zeus, people would be like, "Were you fucking retarded?" Like it doesn't happen anymore because it's disproven. It doesn't fall into the knowledge of what we've come to learn with over the years of science and education and chemistry and astrophysics and all these things that eliminates parts. And it's been doing that to religion for so many years. It just like starts chunking out the parts of the book where we figured that out now. It wasn't like in the Jewish religion, we're like, oh, you can't have like certain things need to be made in a separate kitchen. You can't well, that's because like
contamination.
Contamination and things. So like things that stayed in a religion for no purpose other than just lack of knowledge. And so religion is the winner. It's the top dog of keeping people stupid as fuck and not allowing them to question and find out the answers to those questions.
Yeah.
So it's and then you have that basically on the right side. You have a combination of extreme religion and extreme belief, not wanting to grow, not wanting to learn, as well in the political realm and like with guns and abortions and gay rights and all these things where people are like, no, I just have my views and nothing can change it because that's what I believe. And belief is fine for yourself, but once it starts affecting other people, that's when it's a problem. And that's why those people just need to go and do that shit in their, fucking churches and whatever by themselves or in their own groups and stay out of politics instead of everybody else's fucking life. It's just fucking it up for everybody.
But once you find the word of God, Eric, you want to share it with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's interesting because like the population control that religion is again, beginning the lie of Santa Claus with my kid and seeing how much that keeps him on the right track, right? Now you do that on a massive scale with like religion and like this, theoretical heaven with gold paved roads that you go to and live and you never have any wants or desires because it's all taken care of and shit. Like that's a good sales package for someone that's like, to keep them on the straight and narrow as they're on this planet and shit. But yeah, man. Yeah, I'm happy I fucking didn't drink that Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's really a bummer. It'd just be the Eric show. talking and ranting to myself on this fucking podcast.
Well, I mean, I don't think you'd be fucking like where you're at if it wasn't for me, my friend.
That's true. I give you credit to that.
Made you lose your religion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you got me out here, which made me see a whole different aspect of life that I wasn't exposed to back home. That made me change my views. And luckily I was open-minded enough to see and change. And that's, I think, the hardest part. Change is hard for everybody in every aspect of life. And so you take the thing that is the biggest, like religion, like people can lose their family members, over that, like just going to a different religion, like, oh, how dare, all of that shit. So it's like you add in those other pressures that society puts on people because of something they believe in or they were brought up with. Or if you were to like simpler, like if all of a sudden you turned, you're a Packer fan for life and then you turn to a Bears fan, you'd be like getting all sorts of weird looks and people would be talking shit to you back home and, like the whole thing like that. So it's like, that's just a game. Yeah. That's just a bullshit game. Like you take something like all the theatrics and all like the seriousness that it demands when you go into these places and like, oh, you can't say that. It's religion. It's like, fuck, what the fuck is that? It's like you believe in the fucking like Santa Claus and Zeus or whatever else. It's like it demands no respect. It like you have respect. I respect the fact that you're allowed to believe in the Bigfoot and fucking Santa Claus and fucking religion or anything you want to fucking believe in. But it doesn't automatically get like bow down and whatever because you believe in some crazy shit that makes no fucking sense. Like it just like I give you respect to like do those things on your own, but once it starts trying to get into school and they're trying to teach that Bigfoot's real in school, like you'd be like, no, what the fuck are you doing? Or like they're trying to like change what you can do, like, oh, I can't go to the hospital because like Bigfoot doesn't allow that or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's your own shit. Keep that shit out of like society. Like, keep that in your own little communities and your own little cults and little pockets of fucking belief of this fairy tale shit and leave everything else to the rest of the fucking world. Yeah. Makes no fucking sense. Absolute horse shit. And if you're watching this now, I'm sorry. That's the truth. Whoa. I don't want to tell you what you want to hear. I'm just telling you what you need to hear. So take it for what it is. Can live ignorance is bliss, they say, but I think being enlightened and learning new things.
Also open-minded. That's the other thing too. Is like I don't
knowledge is power, man. Yeah. Knowledge is power, and once you have some of that, and I have a very small bit of that, it really opens you up to so many different things. I feel
anything I feel like that you read or get into nowadays, you need to cross-reference it and like math homework, right? You do like a multiplication fucking problem, you do a division problem, you check your work, right? I think that like you need to do that with anything involving politics nowadays, or especially shit that's like just that you read off the internet. Like everything's all fucking bullshit. It's all based in falseness. You know what I mean? You can't just take one article like, well, that's the fucking word of God, and that's the gospel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've been called out online before, like posting some like anti-Trump shit, and I have a friend that he was like, hey, this isn't like this thing that it was like something like a quote that it said like a quote Trump said like in the 70s or 80s about like Republicans. He's like, if I ever were to run as a Republican, like I would definitely, if I were to run as president, I'd run as a Republican because those are the dumbest people ever, and they'll believe anything as long as you bring up religion or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure he said that. Yeah. In some way, shape, or form, but the article that I had reposted, it wasn't accurate. It was false. Yeah. And my friend hit me up, was like, hey, like you should take that down. That's not actually accurate. Like even though like it's something probably he said probably more recent, but like this quote from this thing is wrong. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I looked it up, researched it, and it was like, this was actually not said by him. Yeah. It was like, manipulated or taken out of context or something like that. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm taking it down right away. So it's being able to do that and being like, oh, okay, like I was wrong or that. But
you should have checked it. You should have fact checked it before you posted.
I should have.
And that's the problem is most people just repost shit and share things, and it's just a lot of just fucking bad information being shared. So, dude, I honestly like the 45 minutes we've been talking about politics. This is all the politics we need to talk about this year. I really don't give a shit. Like you're
just getting ramped up, buddy. It's just starting.
I know. Just
wait.
I know.
Just wait.
It's a fucking clown show again. This year, it's an election year, so
It is.
Like,
it's an election year, but it's the last season of America if it fucking doesn't work out right. It really is. It's the end all be all.
I feel like that's since 2016 though, man. Legit, when Trump won, I was with my like all black in-laws in Hawaii watching like that fucking like idiot like win the fucking show, and I'm like, no. And then the Klan came back, and like, you know, after he's like, the Klan's back, like they saw them fucking disappear into the shadows in like the fucking 60s. Now they're back, and this idiot drummed them up, and just like, boy, like, in somehow as a country we still fucking like we're limping along and shit like that. But I really do think that if he got elected again, that'd be the fucking like the nudge to kind of knock us over. Like,
oh yeah,
Rome
will
fall.
Yeah, Rome fell in a day, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like all like leading powerhouses end up falling at some point, and this is that moment where we could be knocked off the pedestal. And I think Trump's first time around, he didn't know what the fuck he was doing, because he didn't know what the fuck he's doing anyway. He's just a dumbass fucking, I'll just, you know. And then it wasn't until I think the end when he was like, oh shit, like, you know, I'm not going to leave, and unless I win, you know, like that's the only way, like I'll concede. I don't want to have to concede because I'll win or whatever. Once he had his first 4 years and kind of had the time to like figure out like what he could do if he went full on, I think he was hesitant to do it because of like not really knowing like the power that he could really do. Yeah. But this time around, if he were to get back in, now he's even said it. He goes, I'm going to fucking full on loyalists, all loyalists, like fire like thousands of people that have been in the political atmosphere and the Congress and all that stuff, and just get everybody that is loyal to him. So anybody that pushes back on like, oh, you can't, it's illegal, the Constitution, like even like Mike Pence, as shitty as that fucking idiot is, he still was like enough to be like, that's against the Constitution. I can't like, you know, give you the like certify false electors to make you president. Like it's illegal. Like it's not, you didn't win, dude. And like, he still had these like kind of guys that weren't complete loyalists. So all he has to do now is just get all those fucking guys out and put loyalists in. So they'll be like, yeah, let's fucking do it. I'll certify it. Where is it? Sign me up. Yes, sir. Yeah. Whatever, you know, like all those guys. So now he knows what he needs to do the next time if he gets in. And that's the scary part. And he's saying that. He's like, I will go after everybody. I will fucking get rid of all the fucking people in here, and I will put all my loyalists in. And that's like exactly what fucking Hitler did. The same shit. Like there was nobody that was like, oh, I don't think you should do that, Hitler. He was like, you know, like it was like if you didn't fucking bend the knee, like you were done. And that's how it is with anybody that goes against him. Anybody that, all these people that are going to jail now, that all of his lawyers, his attorneys, all these fucking the January 6th people, those are like perfect examples of people that drank his Kool-Aid and got the repercussions of what he had told them to do. And same thing with his attorneys and everybody else. Anybody else around him that touched Trump is either in jail or being prosecuted or having to go to court because of the lies and the things that they did for him. And it's the end all be all, man. It's like the last one. I'm gonna fucking fucking watching this shit like a hawk, dude. It's like the craziest shit that nobody fucking like. I don't know. No, like do
you remember that movie Collapsed? That documentary about peak oil.
Yeah,
I was like talking about like he basically paints a picture how we're running out of oil and the whole world's gonna end in a couple of years, right, or whatever the fuck it is. And then he's like, what you can do is just, what I do is I just like, pet my dog and smile to people. Just like fucking real sad, like, this is the end type thing. And I kind of feel like I do that kind of shit low key with my kid though, because I'm just like, all right, there's a whole bunch of chaotic shit going on. But in this moment, being present with my kid, try to enjoy that kind of shit, That's like all you really can do. Then, what the fuck is going?
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can do for right now.
Yeah,
just try to have a conversation with as many people as you can about, the future of the country, and try to unbrainwash them, because I think that's where we're at. You just gotta like try to fucking get people out of their comfort zones and look at things through a different lens, and it's really all you can do at this point. So, I'm sorry, Tony. Am I interrupting your texting?
No, I'm sorry. My child is trying to call me. Yeah, it's bedtime. It was off camera. I got to bring it up. Come on, be professional.
You be professional.
I am being professional.
You're not.
Just fucking like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, put that fucking
Can't wait.
Put that bottle down.
Can't wait 4
We're not sponsored by Dos Equis yet.
They're watching now that people are watching mom and dad fight, okay? I'm the dad.
Mom and mom fight.
Mom and mom fight.
Dad and dad. Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this fucking year turns out. Just
oh yeah.
That's
an understatement.
A lot of big things happen in 2024. It'll be a good year.
What do you want to do in 2024, Tony?
I want to get on more road work and take some fucking vacations with my kid back to Wisconsin. Dude, that was I really regret not taking him back like for a 2-year window of him like not experiencing like some seasons and shit. Like, and then really too, like the first time he saw snow was like such a small little window. Like, I just want to do some family trips to kiddo. Get our sponsors for this podcast and not only talk about Trump, we'll talk about some fun. Next week, super uplifting.
We never talk about this shit. We only talk about it like once before when Ben was on.
Yeah.
And I plan on doing this at least once a month. I have to have like a rant or talk about this and make it something that is important to anybody that watches this shit.
I like how you start out the podcast though talking shit about like Joe Rogan, and then you go completely in your lane on your like thought of politics because you are very like thick-headed and like, and with that, and you're very well versed too. So it's not like it's like coming from nowhere, but like there is that like I do see some like good sides of both parties. Like I do think that like because of the fact that I don't know where the fuck my taxes are going, like I wouldn't mind a little bit more of like the right influence on this state, right? Where we're going too far left, where it's just I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Again, my whole argument isn't about the small things. Like, I don't care about taxes and shit. I care about a democracy.
Like, yeah, but that's the thing that was like...
I care about not getting the Trump Stapo knocking on my door after he wins and being like, hey... You posted some shit about me. You're going to Guantanamo Bay. I'm like, like that's where I'm at. Like, I don't care about the dumb shit like fucking save the trees and all this other bullshit. I don't give a fuck. I care about like the big picture here. And the big picture is like, are we going to have a country anymore? And we won't. Not one that we recognize.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, people get caught up in the taxes and this. I'm always fiscally, I vote for this guy. That's like, there's none of more of that shit. It is just like either you want to have a United States of America and a democracy, or you don't, and that's the thing.
But I don't think people actually get that like bigger scope of things. That's the real problem.
Right. That's why we talk about it. That's why I want to talk about it at least once a month on this podcast. It's something that should really be brought up.
Stay tuned, folks.
Stay tuned. Once a month. We'll be back, and hopefully that motherfucker will be convicted and in jail. But
at that point, will we still talk about once a month? Recap.
Yeah. That fucking idiot will probably still be calling from jail like, I won the election. It was all, my case was a fraud. And like,
I'm the greatest fucking prisoner.
Guy's just the trashiest fucking piece of shit. Man. But
he's a dope.
On that note, Tony, where can people find you?
At Tony Klein Comedian on Instagram and all the other social medias. And TonyKleinComedian.com. If you're in Sunset Rooftop tonight, I have a show there. Otherwise, I'm here next week on the 14th and the 21st at the Petty Cash Arcade.
You won't be there. By the time this gets uploaded, you will not. That'll be tomorrow.
Yeah, and I was saying not tonight's shows, but the next two shows that I said, the 14th and the 21st.
No, but the first one is the rooftop tonight.
Tonight, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just telling people I'm getting into that. I'm going to take a piss after
Someone's
this too.
outside of where we record this podcast and happen to hear that. Go to Tony's show tonight.
Eric, professionals, come on. Come on, Mom. Eric, where can people find you?
Well, for all of the non-Joe Rogan watching people that are lost out there like little puppy dogs wondering, where do I go to now to get information and hear two guys that don't know anything but still have open minds and want to live in a democracy? You can go to the ericandtonyshow.com. You can support us in our movement of information. Buy a mug, buy a t-shirt. You can also go to the Eric and Tony Show on Instagram and on TikTok. We post 60-second clips every day of the podcast each week. The full hour-long episode is on YouTube on the Eric and Tony Show every week. Every Monday, we try to upload that for you guys. And then on Spotify, same thing. Every Monday, we try to upload the full audio episode. So if you can't watch or you just want to download it and listen to it, or you're flying somewhere, doing something, cleaning the house, you can do that too. And then you can go to my personal Instagram account at Eric Rustler on Instagram. And I basically just repost the 60-second clips. I'm trying to do more backpacking stuff on there. That's what it originally was, but I kind of took it over with this podcast, trying to spread the word more. But
get back in the woods, spread the word out there.
Back in the woods. Trying to get back in the woods with my brothers this year. Trying to plan a backpacking trip. So got that on my 2024 list of things to do. But thanks again for watching the podcast. Thank you, Tony, for listening to me rant for an hour and giving me your perspective on how the country is going to shit. And thank you, Mark, for always being our producer and getting these podcasts out to everybody. And we'll see you at the next one. Peace.